Hey, you would think after how long that I would have the buttons down pat, but I'm still clicking the wrong ones.
Just say they keep changing the buttons on you.
That's it. That's it. Whole new dashboard.
I need to update our intro. I just realized that. I need to update our intro a little bit.
Yeah,
You still resemble your picture, but I don't. But I'm known for that's what I'm known for that. I look different every 1 or 2 years.
By the time you change it, you'll be back to. Yeah, I just had to get rid of all the ones that had the long. I used to have the long curly hair.
Yeah, you did. You've always had beautiful hair, but yeah, you had long wavy hair for a long while. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. But this is fun now, so I'm just whatever.
Silver fox, baby.
So how's your week going, Margo?
Same kind of crazy as everybody else. Energy all over the place. Good stuff, tough stuff. A lot of supernatural stuff. I'll just generically say that. Off-planet stuff, on-planet stuff, subterranean stuff. All kinds of good things. All of it's transitional. But I'm still here. We're still here. We're still rowing the boat. How about you?
Pretty much the same. Got some projects that I'm wrapping up and new projects coming up, and cool. New year. What can you say? It's exciting times, and we'll see. And then this weather lately, it's like I was thinking the other day, it's kind of like lockdown. I can't remember what day or time it is.
Girl, you just said something. It is another type of miniature lockdown, which is something, that they're just hankering to throw on us.
I know it. They just can't, yeah. But I'm happy. I mean, I don't care. I like being isolated and doing my own thing, and let me, leave me alone. I'm fine as a little hermit. I love doing stuff online. I love, Zooms and things like that. They're fun. I don't have a problem with it. But, the people, I want to get out of the house. I want to go crazy. No, when I get out in crowds, I go crazy because it's just too much buzz. People are so,
we're actually natural introverts. There's a 4-letter personality type that does that. It's an introvert that has extrovert tendencies.
Yeah, an INFJ or something like that.
Yes, I forgot what the word is.
If anybody's interested, there's a Jung typology test, JUNG, on humanetrics.com, which is just like the Myers-Briggs.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for, Myers-Briggs.
Yeah. Cool. So anyway, everybody's going, well, we just jumped right into
Who are these crazy ladies? We're Eyes of Indigo. Hi, I'm Margo. This is Spirit. Good evening. And we do have a show actually planned out for you a little bit.
We do. We do.
And nothing we've said so far is related to it. We got to start somewhere. Yes,
we have bells too.
It takes a few minutes for people to sign on, and that's what I'm going to tell you next. If you are a regular to the show, hi, welcome. Hello. Please type in and say hello. Tell us that you're out there and all that good stuff. There we go. We got 2 of them. We've got Elsie and we got Deborah. Absolutely. Hi, ladies. And if you are new to the show, please feel free to type a comment or in the chat room, depending on if you're YouTube or Facebook. We do both simultaneously live. And we only know you're out there if you type and say hi. So you don't have to, but we prefer that you do. And during the show, we'll ask your opinions. We'll ask you to throw out questions, comments, funny stuff, whatever you want to do. Jump into the conversation with us, talk to us. There is about a half a minute delay, roughly, between when you type and when we see it. So keep that in mind. Sometimes
Yes.
we'll backtrack.
And also, if you are new, say first timer, or first time poster, long time watcher, or something like that. There's some people that have gotten into the rhythm, and every time they come on, they tell us hello, and then other people lurk in the background, and then I find out later, oh yeah, I watch your show. Why don't you say something?
Say how you know us. But if you don't know either one of us, feel free, newcomers, to go check out episode 1 way back in September of 2020 on the YouTube broadcast. And it is a half-hour presentation of our credentials. And you can see the motivations and the backgrounds and the histories of Iris and Margot, me and her. And pointed the wrong way. And her.
I'm over here, Margot.
The camera is not a mirror, but it's in the prequel version of the very first episode. And you can see where we came from, what we did to get here. And this show has been weekly ever since. Iris has been at the helm of every single episode. I've had to jump
whether that's good or bad.
It's awesome. It's terrific and awesome. I've had to jump off because of the occupations that I have. But welcome to the show, everybody. We're glad you're here. So, Iris, tonight, where are we swimming to? What deep seas are we diving?
We are diving into a realm that is one that I frequently remind myself of.
Sure.
It's the 3 R's: rejection, resentment, and regrets. If you've hit a wall, you feel like you're not going anywhere, think about resentments, rejections, and regrets. They're among the most common blocks to what I say spiritual growth, but it could be
personal growth
in general. But we all know personal growth is spiritual growth, but that's a whole nother discussion. And we're going to talk about recognition, recovery, and release of these 3 hindrances. And I can also add resolution to that as well. But it's when you think about, and I know one of the things we talked about is it is something that we talk a lot about in theta healing. But I've heard other people talk about it too. Yeah, and it's one of those.
Tell us your background in theta to make. It's relevant that you're saying it.
Okay, yeah, I am a theta healing practitioner. I've taken the basics and the advanced. I had my teacher certification for a while. If I want to keep it up, I have to go back. But I haven't really been teaching, and I thought I just don't see myself teaching in the future unless some people start coming to me and asking, and then I'll go back and get it. But I'm not going to do it right now. And I've had a bunch of other little side classes and anatomy.
How long?
Oh God, I've been studying theta healing
since
around 2009, 2010 or 12 years, somewhere in there. And I've actually had classes under Vienna Steibel, who founded theta healing. So that's kind of awesome. Cool too. And the idea behind theta healing is that when we're as practitioners, we go into a theta brainwave, which is like that state just before sleep, and we connect with the creator of all that is, God, your higher, whatever you want to call it, source, the divine,
great spirit,
and make sure that we're getting it from information directly. And I can do body scans, read people's energy, do
past life.
We can't go into past lives. We can go into
talk about resentment, regret, and that's past life.
Yeah, and but also past lives, like that. But the basic idea is we get the information and we, try to find out where most illnesses and unease with
Mm-hmm.
humans, whatever it is, the problems
Mm-hmm.
that we have,
Mm-hmm.
come from the belief systems that we have. Whether it
Yes.
was beliefs that we got as we were growing up, beliefs
Right.
that we got genetically, beliefs that we got um,
Culturally,
historically in
historically,
like
culturally,
past, that's through past lives and stuff.
ancestral,
Core and
ancestral.
well, it's core, history, genetic, and soul level.
That covers it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are the four. And sometimes the belief, it permeates all four of those. Sometimes the belief just comes from one area. And so
Okay.
you find where that base belief is, pull it, change it, and sometimes within those beliefs are the resentments, regrets, and rejections that people have.
Okay.
If you find yourself um, in bad relationships where it's like a repeated thing, why do I always draw this type of person to me? And maybe it's the belief that you hold, and then you feel rejected. And so that's going to compound the issue of for the healing.
Right.
So, fear, anger, and guilt all
Mm.
come into that. So you've got
Mm.
all these different things going on, and we just kind of want to break it down and talk about it. And then, so one thing with resentments, regrets, and rejections, those are all things that have happened that you're holding on to from things that have happened in the past. It's not like it's a future. Oh, I'm going to resent doing that. Well, if you know that, then don't do it. Uh,
Right.
or regret that. I'll regret that
Right.
in the morning. Well, then that's
Don't
your
go
choice.
there. Yeah.
But if you're looking back in the past, you're looking in the rearview mirror or turning around. You're not facing forward.
Or in the
Right
moment.
there is a barrier to keep you from moving forward. If
Yeah.
you're constantly bringing up the past, and that's what's in your memories, and you're reliving that in your head, you're not living your current life. You're not living in the moment.
Absolutely.
And so then
That's
people
a.
wonder, why am I stuck? Because you're not looking where you're going.
You can't walk forward if you're busy looking over your shoulder. Something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the universe goes, oh, we got to stop because she's sightseeing behind her.
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and,
It'll
and
conspire to do whatever to support whatever you keep focusing on.
right,
Yeah.
they aim to please. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you realize that things, there are lots of things that can come together to help you. A lot of people go, but I feel so rejected, or I always hate that, my mom was mean to me growing up and I just can't get over it. Well, guess what? You're going to live with that the rest of your life if you don't get over it.
Right.
And do you want that? Do you want
to carry that shit with you the rest of your life, or do you want to get over it?
Yeah, people talk
Or
about
is it
carrying
justifying your
baggage.
victimhood,
Yeah,
which is a whole nother discussion?
yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and I'll be the victim all your life. Yeah. If you haven't seen Adam's
Adam's
Family
Family,
Values.
Wednesday.
And so if you like carrying around the heavy baggage, if it's giving you a workout, and that's where you are in your life, that's your choice. But when you realize that you have choices and you have the power, it opens up your entire world. So, for example, there are things that we all do that we go,
Yeah,
I can't believe I was so stupid and I did that. And I
for sure.
I
For sure.
regret doing something, or I regret, whatever. I regret getting into that relationship because he was a waste of my time, and I can't believe I spent all that time with that person. And what was I thinking of? Yes, but
Don't continue working on a mistake just because you already spent a lot of time making it.
you're
A
done with it.
lot of people will do that.
You're done
Why
with
are
it.
you still here?
What
Because
did you
I've been
get
doing
from
it for
that?
10 years, for 20 years. And
Yeah.
that's your excuse for continuing to make a mistake you know is a mistake. Yeah, that's actually a widely used excuse. But anyway.
So what? So okay, you were in a bad relationship and it ended badly and you regret being in that relationship.
Okay.
Why? Start asking the whys. And when you realize, well, I regret that I didn't recognize he was an asshole and I had to wait for him to break up with me.
All right. So that's a regret.
Okay, so what did you learn from that? Oh, I have the power to cut this off if I get in another relationship. No, when I get in another relationship, I know what to look for and what I want and what my expectations are from that person.
Right.
And and then sometimes it's fear. I don't want to get in another relationship because I'm afraid I'm going to end up with the same kind of asshole that I've had the past 3 relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fear is holding you back.
Right.
So if you know that you
Very
have the
powerful stuff.
power
Yeah.
to discern this information at the
Yeah.
get-go when you meet people, and
Yeah.
you have the power of ending a relationship as soon as it's not suiting your purpose anymore,
Yeah.
and that you know you have the power, it's going to heal your future relationships. It's going to heal your regrets that you were in the previous relationships. Those relationships were there to teach you something. And what did you learn from them? Embrace the lesson
Yep.
and go, wow, this guy might have been an asshole, but he's taught me a lot about myself.
Uh-huh.
And I know
Our enemies
that
are
I
our
have the
biggest
divine
teachers.
right to be happy. I have the
Yes.
divine right to not be associated with people like that. I have
Right.
the divine, all those things that you recognize. If you allow yourself to recognize all these things and embrace that, it can be very empowering.
Very.
And so then
Very.
suddenly all those regrets melt away. And when you remember the relationship, you're then able to remember the fond moments or send gratitude and well wishes to the person and go, hope he heals because I'm healing and I'm moving on, buddy. And off you go. And the same thing can be, for rejections.
Mm.
When people
Mm.
tell you, well, I'm just not good enough. I just can't do anything right. And people don't. Well, if you,
No one loves me, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
yeah. Well, if you keep saying that, if you make wide statements like that, nobody loves me. Guess what? The people that love you aren't going to show up because the universe thinks that
That
that's
they're
what
not
you want.
appropriate for you. Yeah. You're calling it in.
You're calling it in.
You're calling in people who don't love you.
I fuck up everything I do. Guess what?
They're going to help you do that. Because you just
And
asked for
cancel
it.
clear that for me. I don't want that. No.
Exactly. Exactly. But people don't always realize that that's what that you just asked for it when you say that. When you say, I don't, it isn't. It's not something judgy on yourself, judgy on other people.
I am all thumbs. I
You're,
am
yeah,
a
you're
terrible
actually
singer.
asking for that to happen when you make those kind of low vibe, let's say self-talk or judgmental talk about other people. You're calling it in
And
when you
so
do that.
immediately when I'll say stuff like that just off the cuff, God, I can't believe I'm so stupid. Whoa, I'm not. Stop that. And I cut it
Cancel,
off.
delete, erase.
Yeah.
Right. Cancel, delete, erase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Humans.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's stuff that
That's how we learn.
Exactly. And so it's like, I know to do that better next time. I know how to live my life with this in existence and to be
With
able to
grace and
do
ease.
this. Yes, all those wonderful words
Yeah.
that you replace with the negativity. Those rejections, rejection, regrets and resentments. Yeah, when you resent somebody else, I resent the fact that he never helps me around the house, and
Mm.
I'm expected to be his slave. Hello, you just said
You just
that. You just willed it into being.
you just placed an order.
And if you are doing what he expects, you are allowing it to happen. And I'm just
Enablers.
Yeah, and I'm just
You're
using the he
enabling.
she persona
Sure.
IDs as just
The
generic application.
the pronouns are just generic conversation.
Yeah. But I resent the fact that my boss always expects me to have everything done, you know, 2 days earlier than the deadline she gave me, even if she didn't give it to me till tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm always expected to have it done the week before. Why are you letting that
Dwelling.
happen?
Mm-hmm.
You're
You're dwelling on
participating.
it, and you're dwelling on it, and that's participating in it.
Yes.
A little bit of
So
ho'oponopono happening there. Yeah.
yeah. And so what are
Yeah.
you going to do to change it and to rectify and to make that better? The fear can come up into it. Anger. When you get angry at something, why are you angry?
Mm.
Road rage. Are you really mad at that
At a total
person?
stranger. At a total stranger. Yeah. Why are you truly? What's really making you angry about that situation? That's just a trigger. What's the gun? What?
Yes.
Yeah. What's your weapon of choice?
Yeah.
What
And
are you
I've
defaulting to?
been there. I've been behind somebody before that I get so angry and I just want to, and then I'm going, and then the next day I'll be driving along and they're going too slow and it's like I'm just cruising along and they go, oh wait a minute, I do need to get to work, don't I? If you could hurry it up a little bit, that would be nice. Don't you need to turn off somewhere? And eventually, but it it it's your state of mind. If
Mm-hmm.
nobody makes you angry, nobody makes you happy. You can find joy in the things that people do for you.
You choose how you feel, which is another surprise to some people. They don't realize that they get to choose how they feel. They feel like it's constantly being emotions are constantly being cast on them. And it takes sometimes, if somebody, this is a new revelation, it can take anywhere from hours to weeks for it to settle in and to
Months,
happen. Yeah, that
years.
was little grace period. I was calling months, weeks, just to be diplomatic. But yes, it can take months. What happens is these people experience it again and they realize, oh, wait a minute. They said, I can pick my emotion and I'm really pissed off right now. All right, backtrack. Why am I pissed? What triggered me? Why am I associating anger to that perceived insult? Yada, 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 yada. It takes practice when you're not accustomed to the idea that
And
you
it
could
still
pick
come
your
up
own
and bite
emotions.
you in the ass once in a while.
It is.
I mean, it's
Yeah, it
still.
still will. I mean, there's a chemical cascade involved. There's operant conditioning involved. There's ancestral damage. There's childhood behaviorism patterns that you've adopted over time, blah, blah, blah. It takes time. So don't beat yourself up for not getting it right the first couple of times after that. But
But
just
what's
having
amazing is
awareness. Yeah.
once you recognize it,
Once you
and then it
recognize it.
starts becoming a habit to question
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Oh, it is so
It's
freeing.
very freeing. It starts stepping away. You're like, wow.
You
And
go to those
I've had
family
people say,
gatherings.
"Why aren't you upset about yada yada yada? Aren't you angry about such and such? Your boyfriend just said blah blah blah. Aren't you concerned? Aren't you upset about that?" And I'm like, "If this was years ago," and I was like, "No, why not?" They literally said, there was my roommate. It was four of us. There were roommates, and they said, "Why aren't you upset about that?" I'm like, "Because that's his choice and his words and his issue. Why would I make it mine?" And my roommates were like, huh, okay. and they went off, and it had not occurred to them yet. Just because that person is your significant other, their issues aren't necessary. their baggage, their issues aren't necessarily yours to respond to react to in any way, shape, or form. And then you realize that's true of everybody, everywhere, all over the planet. You choose your emotions.
During my first divorce, my my then husband and I, we went to both sets of our parents, and we said, we want to let you know we're separating, we're heading for a divorce. Gave them kind of general reasons, and later got into more in depth, but just kind of said, we want you to know we are a united front with the kids. So if the kids are around you, we know you will anyway, but we just want to reinforce, we expect you to be positive about both of us in front of the kids, regardless of what you may think. But luckily, we both got along with each other's parents, and our parents accepted the ground rules. It's like the kids are not going to be torn apart because we're
making a decision.
Yeah. And our parents were great with the kids. It worked out really well. But there was one time I was visiting my parents by myself. It was one evening, and I was getting ready to leave. And as I was walking toward the front door, my parents said something about my husband, and it was something kind of like, well, it was a little biting, And I turned around and I went, whoa. And they kind of looked at me and I said, I understand I'm your daughter, and I love you for fighting for me and for being angry for me and thinking that this outcome should be something different, whatever the issue was at the time.
Yeah.
I said, but I'm okay. I'm not mad at him. I'm okay. You don't have to fight my battles for me. You don't have to be angry for me. I can handle it. I can
choose. You gave them permission.
And they went, oh, okay. And they let it go. And I never heard them say another time. My mother and my ex-husband ended up being best friends because they worked together for a while. And they would talk about me. Well, what's Iris' problem lately? She's been in a bad mood.
He was still family to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just that, no, you don't have to fight my battles. And it was like it had never occurred to them. They were trying to pick up the torch and
run the charge. Right. No.
Yeah. And that was empowering for me, and I freed them. And it was like, holy cow. There was a time in my life I never would have done that. I would not have known. Or I would have walked out going.
You freed them from an expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which would have ended up on a resentment.
Exactly.
Eventually. And it was already heading that way. So, yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah.
And communicate. I'm huge on communication now.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's coworkers or volunteers that I work with or whatever. It's like, we need to communicate this because we can't assume that people are going to understand. Or we can't assume that people are going to assume the same thing that we're assuming. And you should let people know. And and that's one of my triggers when other people don't inform me of stuff, but then I go, okay, it wasn't my story to tell. I don't need to worry about it. I'll let that go. I just make sure I communicate whatever is needed for other people.
From your side. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that opens up, that prevents a lot of, because I've found time and time again, regrets, resentments, all that stuff, a lot of times comes from miscommunication. Anger comes from miscommunication.
Yeah. Oh, honey, like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
It comes from misunderstandings, therefore miscommunication.
And so
absolutely. Stop, drop, and roll. This is stop, drop, and ritual.
Yeah.
That Sam Thompson gave me and my husband years ago. Stop, drop, and ritual. Well, yeah, whatever. What is your ritual to calm down? Is it take a deep breath? Is it give it to God? Is it close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths? Is it count to 10? Whatever your ritual is, stop, drop, and ritual. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a good one.
Yeah, stop, drop what you're doing. And part of what, the 3 R's on the backside of what she said, review, recovery, and release. That can be a ritual too. Find out, observe it, review it, recover, choose another path, release, stop your ownership of the old fucked up way you used to react. Release that energy, that anger, and whatever. And you'll find if you do those 3, you're already moving forward. You're no longer stuck. Yeah.
And guilt is another one that brings
people. God, that's a whole, you know what, we could do a show just on guilt and how guilt happens and what's it for and why is it even here. Yeah, well, and how to get out of it and how to recognize it and avoid it and not do it yourself by accident. A lot of people do guilt by accident. They don't realize it.
And there is still stuff that I know I didn't have control over.
Right.
I know it was beyond me. I've accepted the lessons, but I still get that little twinge when something comes up that's related to it, and it's like
the inappropriate expectation was put on you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it is so, a lot of times those expectations come from societal demands.
Got a story for you. Friend of mine, raised Catholic. She actually told me this story on Facebook just a couple of days ago. She was raised Catholic, other little kids around her, a bunch of Latino Catholic origins. The kids were expected to go to confession. They would make up stuff to tell the priest because they knew they didn't do anything wrong, and they couldn't think of anything to tell the priest because they hadn't done anything.
That's why so many people are recovering Catholics.
Yeah. I mean, these are children. These are small children, and they don't.
Jewish mothers in the Catholic Church, the champions of guilt.
Yeah, institution, not the faith itself, but the institutions that grew out of them. The institution of Judaism and the institution of Catholicism, and by extension, Protestants sometimes as well. Baptists are good at it too. If you want to start pointing fingers and naming names.
And everybody does it.
If anybody here wants to, your guys, if you want to comment and jump in on this conversation, you're welcome to. Please. What drives your sense of guilt? Maybe it's not religion, maybe it's something else. And but these little kids were actually making up stuff to say because they felt guilted into having something to confess. When they're not. They don't do stuff to be evil. They don't do evil. They may do something by mistake, but they won't do it out of evil.
Forgive me, Father, if I have sinned. I buttered my toast on the wrong side.
I put my right shoe on my left foot by accident.
The devil made me do it.
The devil made me do it. I was brushing the cat and I went one stroke in the opposite direction just to see what would happen. P.S. My cat liked it. I'll put that information away in the back of my head for future reference.
Yeah. I mean, I was like,
extrapolate.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, there have times I've been. I wish I could go to confession. I'd just like to see if I get a reaction.
It'd be like, all right, get yourself a bottle of water, preach. We got you're going to be here a few hours. We're going to rock your world a little bit. That reminds me of the movie League of Her Own. They had the Madonna character.
Oh, A League of Their Own. Yeah.
They said, that's twice he's dropped that Bible. What is that girl saying to him?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But and a lot of times guilt, when you say, I don't know why I feel guilty, look, sometimes when I give myself guilt talk, you
Yeah.
know, you should have done something, shoulda, coulda, woulda, those
Mm.
type thing. I'll ask myself, whose voice is that?
We talked about that a little, yeah, in our last episode about the inner judge, the inner critic.
Yeah.
Don Miguel Ruiz addresses that in his book for the Four Agreements, which is always worth a reread. By the way, anybody that's read it in the past,
I ordered 2 copies after our last,
you're gonna
and
give
I
one
already got
away.
them. I gave one to my daughter for her birthday, and I kept one. But
Absolutely, it's fast,
yeah.
quick read. Put it in the bathroom. Pick it up when you're camping out in the bathroom for a while. It's a short, fast
And
read.
don't
It's
feel
5
guilty
chapters.
for spending extra time in the bathroom, right? Uh, but it is, guilt. A lot of times, those guilts are people in our lives where we've heard it somewhere before.
Yeah.
Maybe when you were a kid and you were too long in the bathroom, somebody was knocking on, we don't have but one bathroom in this house. You need to get out. And then you're going,
Compromise
oh,
your
I feel
needs
so
for someone
bad.
else's. Yeah.
Yes, and it
Mm-mm.
grows and exponentially. Or sometimes
Yes.
it's your church voice, or boss's voice, or whatever. Somebody has said something to you in the past that makes you
Critical. They said
critical.
something critical.
And
Yeah. Criticizing
so when you,
inappropriately. Yeah.
yeah, and so it comes back to forgiving yourself. And we did a whole thing on forgiveness, and we were like, when was that? And I looked it up right before the show. It was exactly a year ago. It was January 20th, 2021. We did a show on forgiveness. So if you're interested, go back. They're in date order.
Because
On
forgiveness
YouTube.
is not what you think it is. What mainstream tries to tell you is it's something else entirely.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it results in you letting go of, it doesn't mean that you let go of ownership of, when you
Mm-mm.
forgive other people, it doesn't mean that you're excusing what they did.
Correct.
It's allowing yourself to be able to understand that they made decisions for whatever reason, and that's them, and you
Has
understand,
nothing to do with you.
yeah, that you don't own that.
Right. You exonerate yourself of the responsibility of the emotional attachment to that situation.
Yes.
I know that's kind of a long way around, but short is you exonerate yourself. Look up the word exonerate.
And so anytime you feel guilty, you have to forgive yourself. And you're
Right.
going, but I did something wrong.
No, you didn't.
First of all, right and wrong are ego statements, and judgment. That's the human
Those
based.
are cultural judgments. They are not absolutes.
And what's right here might not be right somewhere else.
And what you
Yeah.
think is right here is totally abhorrent in another culture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so
that
it's
becomes irrelevant.
right.
Yeah.
And then uh
In the
so it's
moment, you
self.
have to follow your intuition
Yeah.
instead. In the moment, follow your intuition about what is right and wrong, or rather, vibrate truth and untruth would be a
Yeah.
better way to say it. Yeah.
And then if you feel like you made a mistake,
Sure.
or you feel like, well, I could have done better, then you do the self-talk of, well, what did I learn in this process?
Mm-hmm. Where did that come from?
Yeah. And there's,
Therefore, what am I going to avoid next time?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I feel so bad. The kids, I didn't give them music lessons. I should have done this. I should have done that. Well, at the time that your kids were growing up and you didn't give them the music lessons that they wanted or whatever, you had a lot of other things to take into consideration. And maybe it wasn't in the finances. Maybe it wasn't in the scheduling. Recognize what you did do for the kids. What they had baseball and soccer and this, and they did art classes and they did all this other. So why are you feeling guilty because they didn't take piano lessons? Oh. A lot of times we beat ourselves up so much and feel guilty for stuff that was literally impossible to have done at the time. But we have this way of rewriting history in our heads where we either make things worse than they were,
Yeah.
or we forget all the good stuff and we beat ourselves up for the bad stuff, or what we perceive as good and bad. And
Right.
so,
Right. Truth
it's
and untruth. Yeah.
recognizing and allowing yourself to enjoy the good things, the happy, enjoy that
Yeah.
instead of wallowing in the guilt.
Right.
And when,
Absolutely.
yeah, and recognize the actuals instead of the self-perceived.
Self-talk that's going to slow you down. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Um, and so, one thing also, I saw that
Hmm.
was like oh yeah, you can't change the past,
Some
and
insight. You're talking about you have some insights?
yes, you
Helpful
can't
tips and
change.
insight. Can't
Yeah,
change the past.
you can't change the past, and what was the other one? I made a note. Um, oh, you
It,
can't control others. You
add
can't
to
control
that,
others.
add one more. It's never about you.
Ah,
It's never about you. Yeah. You can't control others is paramount to understanding how to move these things forward.
and
People
then
assume
once you
they
recognize
can.
you can't control others, you also allow yourself not to be controlled.
They can't. You're right. It's reciprocal. They don't control you either. You get to choose how you feel and what you're going to do next and say and not say. Yeah.
And two of my favorite sayings. One is if your aunt had balls, she'd be your uncle. And the other was balls, said the queen. If I had two, I'd be the king.
Nursery rhymes for adults, right?
Yes. And so although I've been saying it probably since I
As
was
a little
real young.
kid, all right.
Yeah. But it's the regrets, you know. When
Yeah.
you find yourself saying
Or
if
what
I
if,
had done
right?
this, or what if, or the shoulda, coulda, woulda,
Shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
I'll say that to myself and go, yep, let it go.
That's
Be
your, yeah.
Elsa, let it go, let it
Let it
go.
go. Let it go. So there's your yellow flag to pay attention
Yes,
that you're going down a road that is reversible. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
Um, and so I don't know, what comes up for other people. If anybody's watching or listening, what's coming up for you within this discussion. What do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you,
Have
you
an
know?
example of something we've talked about that you think, or a variation that you're like, oh yeah, what about this?
Yeah, yeah. Because there's always, when you're talking to people one on one or in a class setting or whatever, you talk about this stuff, and there's always going to be, well, yeah, but and
What? And they say, what if? Yeah, but what if this happens? You
and
just walked into that road.
I know I've said this before,
Yeah.
but one of the biggest lessons I learned years ago, I was taking some work related training and stuff, and we had interpersonal communications as one of them.
Yeah.
And it was, the guy said, you always have a choice.
Yeah.
You always have a choice.
Yes.
And it was like, I started thinking, and I was even thinking about like worst case scenarios
Right.
and going, yeah, you do always have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless, and I know we've talked about that on here before, but there was a woman that she was so angry with her husband because he wouldn't help her around the house. And she said, I don't have a choice. He has a choice whether or not he takes out the garbage. He's supposed to take out the garbage, and he has a choice, but I don't have that choice. I have to take it out when he doesn't. And the instructor was like, no, you don't. And she kept coming back with but if he doesn't take it out, it's a big old mess. And somebody's got to do it, so I'm the only one that's going to do it. And why is that? Because you always take the choice to do it. But I can't do that. We have children, and you don't think that he can't take responsibility for that? If you let him take responsibility for not taking out the garbage, he will start helping you.
That would be the thought. Yeah.
You know, and if you asked him to do it and then you do it for him, he's learned that he doesn't have to do what you ask him to.
She was so emotionally attached to her answer. I've noticed that too. Sometimes people's personal hysteria, they can't even hear what you're trying to say sometimes. So sometimes you got to tell them, all right, take a deep breath. If this is triggering you really hard, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Come back to center. Let go. We got 2 comments here. Somebody wrote.
Well, we got a spam comment. So
I don't think so. I think Francis was trying to say pay rent.
Oh, okay.
Something you always have a choice. You were talking about you always have a choice. And it says, I think it's got misspelled a little bit, but I think she's trying to say pay rent.
Well, I don't know. We've had some spammy looking comments that have come through like that with the different size letters.
True.
So, Francis, if you are a serious,
you're a real human, come on through.
Yeah.
Say hi. Say hi. But rent, actually, you do have a choice. You can choose to pay rent, not pay rent, pay part of your rent, and tell your landlord what you're doing. Or move somewhere else and hope for a free or cheaper or more expensive place and pay for a lease somewhere else, but you're not paying for that rent there. That's 4 choices right there. Right there. You actually got 4 choices.
Deborah says, don't you think, wait a minute, I can't see.
Don't you think that some regrets are because we've been indoctrinated that we cannot be perfect? Ergo, we may be happy with our choices, but we feel we need to find flaws. That's the guilt trip we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and that's where
indoctrinated is your key word. Yeah.
And some people who have great lives, who have been very fortunate, will find things to beat themselves up about because they think they've got it too easy. Well, you know
they've been told that.
Yeah, and it's like
because children don't think that.
Everybody has their own challenges and their own, and it doesn't matter. Don't tell me that Tony Robbins doesn't have
a challenge somewhere. Everybody's got a story.
Everybody's got a story, and everybody has their own challenges and problems to deal with. So when you have good stuff happening, it's okay, you know. And that actually brings a really good point up. We have the divine right to have abundance,
yes,
and to have happiness. Our only limitations are the ones we put on ourselves.
Preach it, sister.
and hey, I'm guilty. Excuse me. I am in the process of overcoming those blocks for myself.
You're owning the fact that you have blocks to contend with because you too are a human that learns most easily in confrontive, combative situations than you do situations that are completely grace and ease.
Yeah.
Right? Grace and ease, the lesson will go right past you and you won't even notice it. But in confrontational situations, as a human, you'll learn it faster. And on the first pass, usually.
Yeah.
Usually. For most people. So yeah, Deborah, yeah, exactly. It's part of what we were talking about. You're right on track. We've been indoctrinated that we cannot be perfect. Ergo, we may be happy with our choices. but we have to find flaws. Yeah.
And if you are...
That would be the little kid making up shit for the confessional. He's actually happy, so he felt indoctrinated to go find flaws. Yeah.
And there's people that they have a good life, or they have good things happen to them, and then they start feeling guilty because they think, maybe I've got it too easy, and they worry about what other people are thinking.
Oh, people will criticize you for it.
If you are really living in your life, and and you have abundance, and you are comfortable and happy, if you really are doing that, then what other people think or say isn't going to matter. It doesn't even come into...
And your joy and bliss are genuine. Negative people don't affect you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also get to a point, like when maybe you have thought that way before and you're trying to change, and you're saying, okay, I don't, but then you keep thinking, well, or am I being criticized? When you feel guilty for having stuff, when you can recognize...
Stop dropping rituals.
That those other people who don't have, and then who are critical, just haven't woken up to figure out that they have the same access to the same things you have. They just haven't figured it out yet.
And they will displace their sadness, anger, confusion, resentment, regrets, and so on. They will displace that onto you.
Why do you think, like, red carpets where
so that they can be the
stars get all the time, or people pick on rich people, or people are so quick to be critical of famous people,
of affluent people.
Yeah, and it's because they haven't realized they could be there too if they wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. I dated a guy that worked really hard, made a ton of money from it, and he bought a little tiny house out at a lake in Virginia. And we also had a retreat center going at the same time. And people would actually criticize him having a weekend it was a trailer. It was actually just a mobile house. It was a mobile home, a little trailer out by the lake. They thought he was supposed to be pious and act like he was poor. And I was like, you earned it. He earned this money, and you're telling him he's not supposed to spend it as a reward for all the hard work that he earned that money doing. That money's supposed to just sit there and do nothing for him. So the exchange of him doing work, in exchange he got paid for it, and that's it. You're just letting it dust collect on the greenbacks and on the gold coins, and they do nothing for you. That's it. You work, you get money. You work, you get money. For you, that's it for the exchange. There's no joy past that, correct? Is that what I'm hearing you say? And the person was like, no. Yeah. Ooh. I was like, you want to talk about this some more? Yes, I do. I have a problem, don't I? You have one that I think we can talk right out of. So here we go. Yeah, it's that whole worthiness, abundance, deservedness issue that a lot of people, it's a hidden baggage that like 99% of people have at some level. Sooner or later, you're going to hit your tolerance for.
Is that why there's only the 1%?
Exactly. They don't have that. That is accurate as that. For sure. They don't have deservedness issues. They are completely convinced that they deserve everything wonderful, which is how they got there. And they spend a lot of energy making sure the other 99% have no awareness of how much they deserve to be honored. We deserve to be honored as sacred, intelligent, wise, profound, abundant, loving, wealthy, healthy creatures that we naturally are when we're not being sold a bill of goods that's bullshit for several generations. So our
Well, we're
parents,
not
our
seen as a
teachers, our
commodity.
grandparents. Yes. Well, yeah. Why would they do that to you? Because it makes you a commodity, a tradable commodity. What kind of commodity? Look up enslavement. But anyway, we digress.
Yes. And we're also waking up and realizing we don't have to be a commodity.
You don't have to play along with that. You don't have to cooperate with that. You can be a sovereign, independent being. And there's plenty of people out there
Yay!
that are waking up to the same thing. But it's hard to wake up. It's hard to I've been there. I mean, I was, inside the box mainstream thinker until about age 30, 33 myself. It's hard to wake up and take responsibility for when you start realizing, oh my God, I've been screwing this up for years. And for people who have kids, then they go on to go, oh shit, and what have I done to my children? If I'm doing this to me, what have I done to my kids? Holy crap, I've really fucked up a lot of people. I'm a school teacher, I'm a counselor, I'm a business owner, whatever. What you do, your ripple effect. We know that. Your ripple effect. What you do, what you decide affects the people around you, and on and on and on for thousands of people, for hundreds and hundreds of years, actually. Once you realize that, it can get overwhelming, and a lot of people will actually back off from this process of taking responsibility for the fact that none of it is about you and that you're free of it. It freaks them out. They're like, okay, what did Iris just say? When you get to the but what ifs, you get to that, stop, because you're getting off track. But what if? So what if your decisions affected the other people around you? You know what you just did? You also did what Iris just said, which was you brought somebody a life lesson to learn what not to do next time. Okay? They would not have learned that if you were not present to be that adversarial position or devil's advocate or whatever you want to call it, to be the adversarial for that situation. Now you have a choice to play a different role in that person's life. Let someone else be adversarial.
Yeah.
And forgive yourself for everything that has gone before and that you will, out of habit, do again. Because we're human. We make mistakes. Go ahead and start forgiving yourself.
Yeah.
Back then, now, and into the future.
Very true. Yay! Yeah.
Ho'oponopono. Look it up. If you can spell it, good on you. We've mentioned it a few times. We might do a show on it sooner or later.
Yeah.
It's a Hawaiian practice of forgiveness of everything, including yourself, to release yourself of the karma and the energy attached to negative situations. You don't really even have to understand that much. Literally just saying 4 phrases is a type of forgiveness. I'll just give you guys a quick tool. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I'm sorry. In any order. You can say those in any orders. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. You say those 4 things to the universe, to yourself, to the God, to the divine within, to yourself.
And I suggest, instead of saying, I'm sorry, say, I apologize.
I apologize. You know what? I shortcut it. All those words. Thank you for saying that. I use the word namaste. The word namaste, you can say this in any language. You can use any phraseology. It's just those 4 intentions are the basis of it. Namaste means I'm sorry. It means I love you. It means forgive me. It means I apologize or whatever. I forgive you, whatever. It means all that. So come up with your own terminology, but those are the 4 intentions. Say those, boom.
But you are exonerated. I'm sorry phrase, I have done my best and continue to take it out of my vernacular.
Yeah.
Because when I
represents something else to you.
Well, the universe, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, that's a sorry piece of shit. No.
Sorry means substandard. Absolutely. The word, saying I'm sorry means I belittle myself. Right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I apologize is a lot more accurate.
It's more accurate and less likely to be misunderstood by the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or just say apologies.
yes.
It's easier to say instead of all those extra syllables.
Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgiveness, apologies, love,
Yeah, forgive me is
gratitude.
another one. Oh, like
Yeah.
if somebody says, "Oh, forgive me,"
Yeah.
I apologize.
That is
Wasn't
one
my
of
intention.
that's one of them. Forgive me. Love, forgive, love, thanks, apologies. Yeah. Making amends. It's about making amends, apologizing. I amend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I know there's lots of good intentions when people say it, and I used to say
free
it a
yourself
lot,
up.
but I hear
Yeah.
people say it now, and I go, yeah.
Holy water, holy water, holy
Yeah.
water.
The power of Christ compels me.
I swear that phrase is way too useful. Oh, that's awesome. But you know what? We have rolled up on 10:32. Did you have any closing remarks?
I think we've pretty much, I guess it's just mainly, taking care of yourself. And that means forgiving yourself, excusing yourself, recognizing your divine rights.
Yeah.
And all of that, when you
Recognizing the
bundle,
divine within.
when you
Bundle.
have all that,
Yeah.
then everything else falls into place. The other shit
Trust.
doesn't matter.
Right. The universe is benevolent. It follows your lead. So focus on positive. That's the lead it's going to follow. Yeah. You had a funny cartoon
Oh, yeah.
of
First,
a Star Wars pop culture reference about
first, let me
forgiveness.
show this one real quick. This one, I don't regret my past. I just regret the time I wasted with the wrong people. I saw that and I thought, oh my God, that's a perfect example of what not to do.
Not to do.
It was a popular saying, it's a popular, but it's still not. They've missed the point. Okay, so then this one, I love this. Regrets. Those were the droids you were looking for. So yeah, you always wonder, did they ever figure that out?
It is what it is.
Don't be manipulated.
Don't let it trigger you, babes.
Yes. So, all right. Well, with that,
thanks for being here tonight. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Awesome. Same bat time, same bat channel. Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank you for joining The Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details at www.facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo. Show is copyrighted 2022 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. All rights reserved.